Candace probably will tell you, when we got married, I want to be a father. I was like, I want to be a father. I want to have a minivan and a dog.
Life is like a roller coaster, but it's so much better when we go through it together. Welcome to the Candace Cameron Bure Podcast. We're here to share conversations about life's challenges, celebrations, and everything in between. Today's episode is extra fun because you guys get to meet my husband, Val, for the first time on the podcast. Season 7 is Becoming Better Parents with Dr. Josh and Christi Straub. And since Val is the one I've done all of my parenting with, you guys are in for a real treat. So come join us. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show.
This is exciting.
This is fun. It is, honey. I'm so glad that you're here.
My first time on your show, baby. I waited, a few years. You never invited me. Here we are.
I know. Wow. I know. It's what you and the kids have been saying. Yeah. So the time has come.
I'm excited and privileged to be here, baby.
Thank you. Well, this was important for me to have you here and invite Val into the conversation because obviously we've been doing parenting together for 25 years. And was thinking for all of the listeners that don't know, we've been married. We're celebrating 28 years of marriage. Or we'll have, amazing. We're married 28 years.
Cool.
Wow. Yeah, 28 years. Wow. And our kids are all in their 20s now and one is married. Mm-hmm. So we've been through a lot together.
You're grandparents in training here.
We are. We are. So today we're going to be talking about coaching the hearts of teens. And I also thought this was such a great episode for Val to join in because he's just a rock star dad. Mm. I want to say that. I don't want to embarrass you, but I'm going to cry. You're an incredible father and an incredible partner. And I know our kids wouldn't be who they are today without you and all of the coaching and training that you've done and you and I together have done over the years with them. But the word coach really stood out to me, coaching our kids. But you literally coached our kids in hockey, in tennis, in sports, and you coached other kids too. So I just thought you're going to be a great addition to voice some opinions and your heart and what has been successful in our lives to help other people listening that are maybe haven't gone through it yet, that are about to.
Yeah.
Right here.
That's us. And this is what's fun for me is I love, if you've listened to the previous 7 episodes, and if you haven't, those of you listening, love for you to go back and listen to that because we've set the stage with emotional safety and what does it look like to enter into our children's world. Now we're talking about what it looks like to enter into our teens' world. And it's fun for me to sit here. I know for you too, Christi, I love asking questions of those who have gone before us. And of course, our kids are 12, 10, and 4. And you guys have been doing this for 25 years. So we get to pitch to you guys as we set the stage for talking about emotional safety in teens and coaching teens' hearts. So I'm actually going to throw it to you, Val, just to get a little bit of an understanding of who you are. I'd just love to know from you, what's been the favorite part for you of being a dad?
I don't think I can pick one single thing. What's the best? Candace probably will tell you when we got married, I want to be a father. I was like, I want to be a father. I want to have a minivan and a dog.
Yes to the minivan.
Yes. Candace would not allow me to get a minivan. So, but it was some kind of a truck or whatever.
Yeah, minivan, and then Val was like, no, we're not getting the minivan.
We still drive the minivan. I love it.
Yeah,
listen,
it's pretty great.
It could raise a child on its own. They have cooler systems now where you can keep your bottles cool. I'm like, a mother absolutely created this thing. It's incredible.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, the best thing for me, even now, I think, just to be able to, our kids are a little bit older, but to give them a hug. Mm. And now the hugs last a little bit longer and they grab you a little bit tighter and just tell them that, I love you. And you hear that I love you back. And it's very genuine. And, the best things for us is when we're sitting and having a dinner together, now that we're kind of all in a different places and all that stuff. So this is right now probably one of the single best thing in my life that I get to experience with you, right?
Yeah.
Wow. I would love to hear from you, even as you talk about feasting and having meals together. And this really, because I think so many of us who are in, and those of you listening who are in the trenches, if you will, and you're going, man, you hear the phrase, the days are long, but the years are short. And I'd love to just hear a little bit of a foundation of, you guys are now in this season where you're reaping a lot of the rewards by feasting and sitting around the table. What were some of the foundational principles or tactics or ways? How did you set the stage for that? Maybe even from the early years, if you look back on it to go, what was the hugs are longer. I love hearing that. The I love yous are more genuine and sincere. It seems like it's like this sense of we really are connected. What were some of the ways that you cultivated that through the years that you look back on?
One of the things, I mean, we all know raising the kids, it's one of the toughest jobs in the world. You know, but it's rewarding. It does pays off as you kids get older. But one of the things I always say, you got to invest your time. It's a time that you invest into your kids. And a lot of friends of mine, they said, well, but I don't have a time. I got to provide, or I have to do this. And you will always find a time for kids. And the kids always value the time that could be just one-on-one and sitting and listening to them. The way you can show them, it's, when Candace used to come in and watch the boys play hockey, and she goes, well, why am I there? They don't even know I'm there. And I said, believe me, they watching, they see you there. It's very important that you show up and just sit there, right?
Yeah. Yes, because there were many times where I was like, I'm just going to go wait in the car with the heater on because it's cold in the hockey rink. But I learned over that time that it really made a difference that I was sitting in the stands and not on my phone, because that's the other thing I'd get called out. Like, well, you were there, but you weren't even watching me. And I couldn't always comprehend that. And sometimes you feel like you're in survival mode. I have a bunch of things that I'm doing the other day, the rest of the day. And so, hey, if I can answer a couple emails while I'm at my kids' sports event, I'm going to do this. And Val taught me, and the kids taught me, no, that time was so valuable to pay attention and to invest and be there, because they are watching. They do see it. So they know that even if you're present, but you're actually not emotionally present with them, there's a massive difference.
Yeah. I remember I was a mom of a 12-year-old who came up to me after giving a talk on emotional safety. And she said, Josh, I don't know what to do. My son's learning how to rap. And I was like, okay. So I walked through a couple questions. 1 Corinthians 15 says, bad company corrupts good character. Is he hanging out with kids that he shouldn't be hanging out with? She said, oh no, they're youth group kids. Like, I know their parents, they're good kids. I said, was he listening to lyrics that are violent or demeaning to women? And she said, no, he's listening to Lecrae, who's a Christian rap artist. And I said, then I only got one piece of advice for you. And I got down on my knee, because that's typically how I do to enter into their world, eye level. I said, learn how to rap. Because if you don't enter into their world and become a student of your children, they will find someone else who will learn, and you'll build a wall between your heart and theirs. And it seems like there's been times throughout their teenage years where the time factor, and I hear this a lot from men, well, I got to go provide. And you mentioned this. It's like that quality time is what creates the quantity time is what creates the quality time. If you're not putting in the quantity, then the moments for the quality don't typically end up being there. And I'd love for you to just kind of share maybe a little bit of that kind of as you're talking about, showing up for the, what activities, how did you enter into their world through their teenage years?
That's funny you say that, because I was just thinking about it. I don't like to enter our youngest son's world because he plays a lot of video games, and I don't like video games. And I'm like, I despise that. But hey, here I am. I'll just sit with you for 5 minutes and pretend like I like this. But with us, we made a lot of different rules while they were younger or even the teenagers. One of them was when we in the car, there's no cell phones, for example. So they said, well, we have nothing to do. I said, well, I don't know, look outside or do whatever.
What a great rule.
And then an amazing part of that was our drive was about anywhere between an hour and a half each way. And sometimes they go to sleep, quiet. Some days we have the most amazing conversations. And those are the things that you don't think about. Well, it's just a car ride, but the car ride can really turn into something very special.
Yeah.
You don't know what's going to spark a conversation. Yeah. He might come and start sharing the things with you. And that's one of the things I think, I would be driving and I go, guys, look at, beautiful sunset. They missing world. Yeah. Yeah. So that, one of the greatest things for us was that rule that we'd be able to connect in those kind of things.
Yeah. And the kids are really, really great about it when Val's in the car. Not so great when mom's in the car, but I guess I'm not as strict on it, although it bothers me. So if I'm driving with one of the kids and they pull their cell phone out to look at it, it's like, hello, like, the rule. And, but yet I find that I'm probably the example that lets it slide. So if Val's driving, I'll pull out my phone and then I don't obey the rule. And we talked about that. It's the consistency and walking the walk, not just say as I, what is it? Do as I say.
Not as I do.
Not as I do. But that has been overall, generally, really an incredible rule that we've implemented. So anytime there's in the car, you can't pull your cell phone out. And then at dinner time or lunchtime, anytime we're sitting down for a meal, there are no cell phones at all.
And I mean, you go back to Deuteronomy chapter 6. I mean, that's what Moses is talking about. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, it's just what is it like, when you walk along the way, which is our version of drive time, it's like write these commands on your children's hearts and realizing that was sort of been our rule from little is like drive time, bedtime, meal times, like just making those sacred spaces. But it's interesting. I picked up on something you said. Are you more of the disciplinarian? Like when we were talking about the last episode, we're talking about boundaries, but would you feel like that's more of your role in your family? It just comes
more natural, I think, to me. Yeah. And, I like to make sure that they follow the rules that we set. And, I know Candace for a fact was a little bit annoyed because I was so like, no, you got to do this. You got to do this. So yes, I think I'm more of a consistent.
And Val's very, very consistent and very disciplined in his life. And we didn't totally talk about you last week like that much, but I just said you're the most disciplined person that I know in my life. And that's a reflection of who you are and all the accomplishments that you've had. I mean, you're a 2-time Olympian. You played professional sports your whole life. And, you have create a world-class product too today. So anyway, but Val is like, we are different in that schedule and consistency is so very important to Val. And I've learned great things from that and become a much more disciplined person in my life too. But on the days where, if he wasn't home and we were taking care of the kids, I'm the one saying like, today's schedule is, there is no schedule. I just want to relax, or let's just see what we feel like doing today. And that would be my breather instead of knowing at every hour what we're going to do. Because Val likes a day that's planned out.
Who doesn't?
That's right.
Some people don't.
It's true.
There are some.
There's it's wild because you mentioned video games. And I think this is important, especially because I'm thinking of those listening who are going, man, that's my issue is video games. And, our son, we allow him to play Nintendo Switch and have some video games. And I'm the same way as you. It's just, I'm like, man, is there anything else that we could be doing that's a better use of our time in some respects? But yet when I do father-son events, I have them separate. I separate the fathers and the sons, and I do this questionnaire. And one of the questions I ask fathers is what's one thing you wish your son would be doing less of? And the greatest one is, I wish he'd be doing less video games. And the cry of the teenagers is, the sons is, I just wish my dad would do video games with me. And it's just this this dynamic of going, okay, how do we as parents, and I think it's just really important for us to be thinking about, okay, how do we as parents, even though we feel like, yes, it is not the fun thing to do, it is not but how do we enter in, still set boundaries and discipline around it because I think that's really, really important, especially for boys. It's social media for girls in teenage years, and it's video games for boys. Those are the most addictive dopamine, the most addictive, socially acceptable things that we're putting in teenagers, in front of teenagers today. And so I think it's important that we do set boundaries around those things, but also that we are not just giving them to our kids and letting them, expecting them to figure it out on their own. So as a result of that, part of that is entering into our kids' worlds, but I think that it continues to reinforce that quality time or the quantity time because we're entering into their world. But then there's the component of quality time where the golden moments happen. And I hear this a lot from parents of teenagers where it's like, yeah, it wasn't anything specific that I did. It was just this one moment that I remember. And for me, I'm going to give an example. So I used to do a lot of counseling with juvenile delinquents and troubled teenagers. And the lack of a father figure was one of the most significant factors for these boys that were in these juvenile detention centers. And I remember one time, there was this one kid I was counseling, and we were getting nowhere. He was only in the cognitive, right? We were getting nowhere. And I remember him we didn't have kids at the time. And I remember him we had an appointment maybe like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And these kids were not in a juvenile detention center. They were court appointed to me after they were released to do counseling and community service. And this kid wanted to switch his time to a later time because he wanted to play basketball with his friends. But for me, we were getting nowhere. And I thought, man, I could change it, but I don't want to because I want him to learn what discipline is and I want him to learn to keep his word. So I said, no, I can't change the time. So I show up that day and he's just sitting there. He's got his arms crossed, his head's down. And I mean, he just looks angry. And we're getting nowhere. And finally, I look at him in the moment because I come to the here and now. And it's like, okay, I want to go to emotion. I want to go to the right brain. And I said, I get the sense you're really angry with me. And that's when he looks up and he looks me square in the eye and he cusses at me. And I was like, now we're getting somewhere. And in that session, he started sharing about how his dad was not in his life. And by the end of the session, he got very angry with me. I was able to sit with him and remain calm. And he grew in that session more than any other session. And by the end, he said, I've never had another man sit with me and not allow me to get angry without that man getting up and walking away or getting angry back with me. And he said, you're the first man to ever do that in my life. And what this shows and what research shows is that true growth happens when we're thinking, feeling, and relating at the same time. So it's not just cognitive, but we're also relating to someone, but we also have feeling. So this boy was in tears. And so I say that to say, a lot of times we're talking to our teenagers and it feels like it's going in one ear and out the other. Right. But there's these golden moments. And I think you created them by saying no phones while we're driving. Yeah. And that's what I hear you saying. So I'd love to hear if there was any golden moments you had because of the discipline of setting, you know what, we're not going to have phones at the table. We're not going to have phones in the morning. We're going to prioritize these certain times of the day. Where I think what it does is it creates the space for golden moments to happen, whether your teenagers are going on errands with you or whatever it might be. Were there any moments you look back and you go, and it'll be fun maybe to even ask your kids this because they'll probably remember some golden moments.
Remember more maybe.
But yeah, just like moments where you go, oh wow, I look at that. I couldn't have orchestrated it, but it was just a sweet moment.
Well, one of the examples I have, and it kind of brought me to my thought, what you were saying earlier, how, people, guys in general, can't really connect and open up with their kids or, not expressive of their feelings or, like you were saying, I've never been hugged before. I've never been told that I love you. So we were at the graduation of our youngest one, and
high school,
high school, and father after father gets up and, has to do a speech. And as they do speeches, they bawling, they're crying. And I'm looking, I'm like, I don't think I'll come out and cry. Should I cry? I don't want to cry. I'm not going to cry.
Puts a little bit of pressure on a man.
What is this? And then I realized they were so emotional and they kind of coached them And that's the first time they said, I love you.
Whoa.
That's the first time they've been hugged by
their dads.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of got up and I go, well, I give a speech and I go, Max, do I really have to say that I love you? Mm. You hear that every day. Like for me, and I didn't make a joke, but I'm like, oh my gosh, made me realize some people, actually kids don't hear that from their fathers. And, I have a funny saying, with Max in the morning, I go, who loves you, boy? And he goes, you do. I go, that's right. And off he goes. So it's a very important thing. And, my father, for example, did not say, I love you or hug me as much. And not that as, I'm missing the part, but I want to give my kids that opportunity to feel loved.
That's you becoming the parent you want to be. And that's leveling up. That's it. With the good things that your dad did.
Right.
And then leveling up going, but I didn't hear as much of the relational. I didn't get the physical, emotional hugs and love. So I'm going to do that with my children. And you have done that the whole lives of our children and been such an incredible example in that way. And I think, I just keep hearing even the example that you use, Josh, that there's the father's role in a child's life, and particularly when they are in their teenage years, is so significant and so important. And we've seen it in many examples, sadly, in our lives of people that we've seen where the dad isn't as present because they are working, and then they come home and it's too tired. I don't want to throw the ball with my child or whatever. But you see the distance in those relationships. And while I believe that moms are typically more naturally nurturing, it is really so important that the dad show the emotion and the love that makes the significant difference when you're raising teenagers. And that's also not to say that our teenagers we've gone through serious issues with our teenagers. So let me just tell you that right now. And it has not been a smooth ride.
And sometimes, it is hard sometimes as a teenager, boys or girls, with an attitude that they have and they discover themselves. Sometimes it is hard to give them a hug and tell them that I love you. They do say some gnarly things into your face, and you got to be an adult in that situation and go, I love you. It doesn't matter. It hurts, but I love you.
And Val you've been a great partner in me, because as stubborn as I think you are, I think I'm more stubborn in other ways. And Val's always like, honey, go give him a hug. Yeah. Go give him a hug. Go touch their shoulder. Like, just go be with them. And it's like gritting my teeth, everything in me to do it. And yet I know how important it is. And like you said, I have to be the adult. It's incredible to have a partner when we are truly our teammates within the parenting relationship, because where I falter, Val helps and picks me up. Where Val falters, I can see and help and pick. I mean, you never falter, honey. Never falter.
Can I ask this question? Because I know Christi and I struggled. I don't think we struggle with it as much as we used to. Where I think we've grown quite a bit. At least I know I have. Is that even in moments where maybe he has tried to correct you, where you don't get defensive, where it's like, and I know we're going to get into marriage in the next episode, but it's like how you guys were able to, did you find that you were always pretty teachable with one another when it came to parenting? Or did you find that maybe it took a little bit of time for you to listen to him and go, okay, I'll do it?
It's easy to say no. No, kids are past that. In the heat of the moment, it is hard.
Yeah,
it's just no way to say it, or sugarcoat it. It's just hard. But,
I think we've both learned and grown along the way, and we've grown with each other. And there have been moments of where that safety connection, like, I'm trying to think of a good example, but I mean, even a notch on a belt, a lot of times when it's really difficult, you're like, where am I going to go with this? This is we're never going to fix this. We can't get through this. And then yet you just get that one little yes moment where you're like, okay, we made it. And it feels like another notch in the belt. And then you feel a little bit safer. So then the next time it happens, I think I became more and more comfortable that, like, okay, we're not actually fighting against each other. We actually are on the same team. And I think we talked about that too. Like you're actually closer than you are far apart. You just don't realize it in the emotion of things. And so that safety, I mean, we've been together for 30 years. Yeah. It's been created over 30 years. So if you had asked us this question 10 years ago or even 20 years ago, we would have had a different answer. Yeah. But we're now sitting in the place where we can say, man, it's worth it. And guys, you're going to get through it. If you stay consistent, you stay involved, and you stay focused and intentional in the lives of your children, you're going to get through it. As fall rolls in, it's the perfect time to get your family together with easy to cook, delicious meals. With Good Ranchers, you can make this fall season a game changer. Now, here's the problem. Too much meat at the grocery store is imported and low quality. So when you get a box of Good Ranchers delivered, you're making a choice that aligns with your family's values. Their beef, chicken, pork, and wild-caught seafood is 100% from local family farms or fishermen with zero antibiotics or added hormones. It is pre-trimmed, they're individually vacuum-packed, and honestly, much better than what you're going to get at the store. So subscribe to any Good Ranchers box now and get a free add-on for 1 whole year. That's a full year of plain chicken breast, Angus ground beef, Applewood bacon, or wild-caught salmon with every single order. With my code, you'll get $25 off your first box and free express shipping. That's up to $360 in savings. Go to goodranchers.com and use my code CANDY at checkout. And if you need to pause or cancel, there aren't a lot of hoops to jump through, I promise. Good Ranchers makes it really easy because they're confident you'll love every bite. Use my code CANDY today and make this fall truly memorable with Good Ranchers. GoodRanchers.com, American meat delivered.
And what I love, like, it's truly like teammates. Like, that's what I feel like I'm watching. It's like you've played the same game, like you're on the same team, but you've balanced each other in such supportive ways. Because I think that's where we found, like, there's things that I'm just more naturally good at, or I notice. And then there's things that I get my feelings hurt. Like the kids, like they push your buttons and he's just steady and he can come in. And it sounds like that's what you've done, is like, you can come in and be like, this is not personal. This is not about you. This is.
He's told me that so many times. Yeah. You're like,
I would love to jump to that because I was going to ask you, you said, because there's a lot of people listening whose teenagers are saying things to them that you're like, whoa, where's that coming from? And you said, you have to be the adult.
Yeah.
Can you define the ways that you've been an adult in those tumultuous teen years where you feel like it is coming at you? What did that look like for you in a practical way as a father?
I mean, the best example is just what I said, when, your teenage daughter comes in, or, teenage boys, and look at you in the eye and start using not a words that you ever taught them. And you have to look at it. And I'm like, who is this kid disrespecting me? And you're losing your mind. But then you also step back and go, well, I'm an adult and you're not. You don't even know what you're saying.
So separating yourself.
You have to, you have to do this. And, our kids, it's hard. Inside, I'm boiling. I'm as frustrated as it can be, but I also inside go, God, help me. Yeah. Help me to get through this. And
I really think the Holy Spirit is.
And I just literally praying in my head, like, hey, just God, help me to get through this.
And that's what I'm looking for, because I think there's a lot of parents who are going, I can think about that in the moment, but I can't control my emotions. I'm getting overwhelmed. I'm getting angry. And to be able to have, okay, what does that look like? Self-talk. Holy Spirit, God, help me in this moment, being able to stay disciplined. And I think it goes back to things we've talked about in previous episodes of, it really is a focus on who we're becoming as adults for us to maintain our cool in those moments. And so I just really appreciate you sharing that. Is there ways that you have gone back maybe where maybe you didn't get it right, but yet you were able to repair, or you think about ways that as a family you had repair in some of those moments?
I think one tool that's been really helpful for us has been our family conversations, family dialogues, like literally sitting around the table, getting in the living room and talking things out, because there's still things that I know I don't have it right. You know, I have very different relationships with all three of my kids, and some are more challenging than others. So there's still places, even in their 20s, that I know I'm not doing it right. But we're at a point where we're all adults, so we can sit around and have dialogue. But even when they were in the tween years and teen years, if there was an issue, even if my issue was with Max, we would sit, all of us, Val, Natasha, Lev, and Max, and then say, Max, what's a problem that you have with mom? Val would be moderator. And then,
wow,
you know, Candace, what's the problem? What's this? And then actually allow to hear everyone's voices. And then we get to hear everyone else's opinions. Lev would speak into it and say, because Lev again is like our 50-year-old man, even when he was 10, and he would come up with something and he'd say, what I'm hearing is, Mom, what Max is trying to say is blah, blah, blah. Max, what you're not understanding is Mom is doing blah, 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 blah. And then Natasha had well, I can speak into this, whether it's from that point of view or, hey, Max, or, you know, I feel the same way sometimes, or Mom, you do this to me too. And I know how Max feels about it. So that has been this incredibly helpful tool. It also bonds us as a family together. It gets us to all understand our personalities. So even at the ages that your kids are at, I would highly recommend. I don't know from a doctor point of view what you would say to that, but this has been such a valuable tool when we don't get it right, to have those conversations. And then with certain ones, we invite the whole family in.
That's really cool. And role playing is a very powerful tool. So even with kids our age, one of the things we'll do is if they don't get it right, we will stop it and we'll all come together as a family and role play. Okay, what could have you done differently? And even for kids who are going out into the world as it relates to school, and maybe they had a peer or a friend and they had a situation that they didn't know how to handle, you can role play that as parents within the confines of your home to help your kids understand what would be a better way to handle that situation with your friends. And so exactly what you're doing, that's such powerful insight.
It's so, because I'm thinking even of times where like our older two have translated, just like you're saying, for me, what I was not understanding or what I'm not even picking up.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, Mom, like Kennedy's worried about this. Like, you're not hearing her. And it's like, oh, you're right. But they're so sharp. Yes. And I think we gloss over, like they have depth, like they have the Holy Spirit too. They have such wisdom. I just love that you've done that. And just what the family unit then gets to, like, we all grow through those conversations.
Go ahead.
No, I was just thought of it. And, you know, also as they get older, the teenage years, you know, they all want to be loved differently. So, you know, the word love is one thing, but, you know, for one kid, it's spending time this way. Another kid is something different. So it's kind of the, you know, that language. And you ask them like, I don't understand. I spend all the time with you and you still don't feel loved. And they'll be like, well, but you don't do this. Okay.
So
very well noted.
It's the Gary Chapman book.
Yeah.
It's the 5 love languages.
That's right. And it's fantastic.
It's fantastic. We read that book a long time ago. Each person in our family read it. We discovered what our love language was. Well,
not everybody.
Who did it?
I don't know.
I think we all knew what Val's love language was by reading it. Yeah,
but we shared. I think we shared.
I think I might have said, I believe that this is yours. Would you like to read that chapter? And he read that chapter.
It's amazing.
But that has been an instrumental book in our lives too. That's a great point to make of the different love languages that each of our children have so that we can know how they feel loved.
Gary's such an amazing man. Love that man. I want to ask this question because I think this is, you know, we've talked about some of the harder things. What were some of the, you know, adventure, vacation, some of these things also shape who we are as a family. And I guess question I want to have is kind of go to the positive instead of always focusing on, the harder parts about being teenagers, because that's what we tend to focus on. And we're like, oh man, but I think when we talk about cultivating the environment of our home, we want it to be a joy-filled environment. We want it to be our kids to be able to come home and feel safe coming back home. Yeah. And if you're not having fun, that's part of this whole thing.
Point.
So where are some ways that you guys cultivated adventure? You guys had fun, some memories that you can look back on that you go, these are the ways we made sure there was fun and joy in our household through the teenage years.
You know what? I mean, again, it's not a big thing. It's a little things. That's, taking the trips or going on the hikes or going watch the sunrise. It's a time, and not necessarily in the beginning they want to do this. They'll be like, I have to wake up to go see the sunrise. That sucks, But then as they do it, and then you reflect later in their life, they're like, oh my gosh, I miss those times. Why don't we do it? Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course.
And it's interesting to see how now we're sitting down with them and then having conversation, and you don't even realize how much of it affects some of the things that you did. Yeah. Because
and even things like, because I was talking to Natasha about this the other day, she said it was like we had on certain nights of the week, let's just call it Friday night, we had our out to dinner night. We had our sushi and yogurt if we lived in this area, or we had the other sushi place and froyo when we lived in Florida. But those were treats, and they were consistent. That we always went to this restaurant and then this frozen yogurt place, but they will forever remember that. And that always brought us joy. We had laughs, we had conversations, and that's just a fun thing and another connection that was really easy to do. It's froyo, but it wasn't the occasional treat. It was like, this is what we get to do on Friday nights.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah.
And what you just said, like, this is what we do. Like it's
when we're creating happy memories.
Yeah. It's like, I think those are the things that I feel like it's like those anchor moments. Like you look back in your childhood, it's like, well, we always did this. And it's like, obviously the adventure and the new things are fun too. But I think, especially in those teen years, we're not there yet. But those anchoring things where it's like, we always do this. So even when the whole world is changing out there and everything feels scary, home and family, like we are anchored.
I mean, talking with Natasha, she was even saying she can tell all the things about the 5 a.m. wake ups to go jogging before school, all of that with all the kids, not just her. But one of the other reflections was
like that? I thought that was a happy times.
No, the happy times and an anchor moment that they won't forget. That was a good positive one that they might not have loved at the time, but they look back and they're like, that was really cool, is that you always took them to bagels before school on certain days of the week, whether it was Monday or Wednesday, and you would do like Bibles and bagels. You would do the Devo with them always before school with making it fun around food. So that was the special morning that they would go get a bagel with cream cheese. We're going to do the Devo, and then you're going to school.
Wow.
And they remember that. And that's beautiful.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you guys, what was fascinating about this when I asked this question was, you didn't say the big vacation we did to this year, or the big vacation we did to, this place. It was the mundane, what seemingly mundane, ritualistic, traditional moments that make the Bure family. Like that's what I heard. Yeah. And I think it's so often we tend to downplay the routines of our lives, but I think tradition and ritual are so critical to our ability. I mean, that's what faith is all about, right? It's like we have these rituals, I think, that are very, very important in our faith that we translate into family dynamic. And that's what I'm hearing. We have a mentor that says God shows up in the unexpected, but yet so often we're like waiting for God to show up in these big moments. But for Elijah, as he's, being chased down, it wasn't the big moments. It wasn't the fire. It wasn't the earthquake. It wasn't the wind. It was a whisper. And what I hear you guys doing is you've cultivated through the years these moments that were quiet, that were routine, that technology was put away. You're going out for sushi. You're creating moments where you can hear the whisper. and you can hear one another whisper, and you can hear the whisper of your teens. And it set the stage even to hear their hearts and to hear the cries of their hearts through those gentle whispers. And I just think that's a really cool thought to have.
Yeah.
It challenges me to make sure that we keep doing those things in our lives.
It changes your focus. You know, it's not the big things.
Yeah.
It really is the small thing.
Okay, guys, we have to go to a listener question.
Okay.
So, honey, we take questions from our listeners. They write in every week. I don't think Val's ever listened to the podcast. So they write in.
Now you throw me under the bus. I have not.
The truth is I haven't. So people write in.
Why listen when I can be here?
Yeah.
This is true. This is true. And we answer every week our listener questions. So this one is from Allison, and she asks, how do you disconnect from your teenagers' emotions while trying to teach them empathy?
And I don't even know what the empathy means.
So guess what? I have the definition of empathy.
There you go, see?
I looked
For
it up.
Russian speaking, yeah.
Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another. To understand and share the feelings of another.
And so I'm assuming that what she means is I might not agree with their emotion. So how do I show empathy if I don't agree with my teenager's emotions? Is that what we're...
I think so. It's worded a little bit funny because she's saying, how do I teach them empathy while disconnecting from their emotions?
Stephen Covey has I love this. He talks about this, and it might even be in the 7 Habits of a Highly Effective Leader. He says, in order to be understood, we must first understand. And so it's kind of taking the golden rule. Instead of treating one another as you want to be treated, in order to be understood, we must first understand. And I think the way that I hear empathy and the way I understand empathy and have through the years is in order for my kids to, or even for Christy to understand a point of view that I have, in order for them, I'll use my kids in this context since we're talking about parenting, in order for my kids to understand a point I'm trying to make, I first have to understand where they're coming from. Because if I don't enter into their world and understand them, it's going to go in one ear and out the other. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's kind of what it's almost like when you talked about Landon coming to you and saying, but Mom, Kennedy is this, or your kids coming to you and saying, you know, to the sit down where one of your children is trying to give you the perspective of one of your other children. It's that dynamic where we sit and we go, okay, what really is going on underneath? What are they actually feeling? And can you label that feeling similar to, looking at the feelings chart, can you label that feeling so that I can understand? I might not agree with the emotion. I might not agree with the situation, but if I don't connect with the heart of my teenager, if I don't connect and they feel understood, I haven't really done empathy. I haven't done empathy until the other person feels like I have seen them and understood where they're coming.
It's that really like feeling felt, like you get me, like I feel felt by you. We were just talking about this earlier where, you know, we're in these little preteen years, I guess. That true? That's so weird to say. And I've had so many other moms be like, oh, is your daughter getting into the attitude and, you know, all these things. And honestly, she's not, but it comes in like little, like it'll come out a little bit. And she's like, how do you handle that? And I was like, I guess I've just learned to ask what's really going on. You know, and she throws out a little bit of that sass. It's like, okay, sure. What's really going on? Because there's something underneath that. And I think that's the point of feeling felt, where it's like, I can toss out these sort of angry, sarcastic barbs, but really there's something much more tender going on underneath.
And I think it's important for you to also share one thing that you really teach on, and I think you do well in, is being curious.
Yeah.
I think it's just a simple principle.
I think curiosity is disarming for everyone, and it's the least threatening, where sometimes even in ourselves, it's like, why am I reacting so big? Like I am so angry at my child's emotion, or I'm so angry at my spouse, or I'm so anything that feels so big. And it feels like threatening. Like, I don't know what to do with this. And the best way to approach it is just to be curious about it. Can you be curious about, I wonder why is that so big in me? But the same is true for understanding anyone else, where I'm not going to take it personally that you got angry with me. It's like, I'm curious. Like, I wonder what that might be for you. And it's so disarming in all relationships because it just puts a different spin on how you're approaching that person. It's not like, I'm not taking this personally or offensively, but it makes me curious, like what's deeper within you? And I think that's the one curiosity, if anything, is it puts you down to the bottom level of like, there we go. That's what's really going on.
Okay, we have one more question from Veronica. She says, I loved the Better Together episode in season 6 with Jenny Allen. Thank you, Veronica. I would love to hear more about marriage and fun ways to keep your relationship spicy. Ever since my daughters have become teenagers, they're 16, 15, and 10, I found it hard to relax and I want to engage in nookie LOL with my husband at home. Is that normal? Am I alone on this one? Please help.
Kick the kids out of the house.
Yes.
We're very simple. And fix the problem.
You are not alone. I feel like this is always TMI when I do sit down interviews, because if it's like People Magazine or Us Weekly, they always want to know about, do you have time for this? And then it grosses my kids out because I answer it. And they're like,
we do have time for this.
Stop talking about this publicly.
We make time
we
for
always
this.
have time for this, baby.
We do.
I hope Natasha's not watching the episode.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll put a warning at the front of this.
Good.
Kids, do not watch this episode. We have sent our kids on many a walk. Go take a walk around the block. Go
Well, now that the adults are like,
yeah, now they roll their
really?
eyes because they know what that means. We also
Did they know what that meant?
well, they do now.
Yeah.
They do now.
Yeah,
but we're
that's
like,
amazing.
guys, don't you feel like going for a walk? And they're like, yeah, we don't want to hear that. Yes, we'll go for a walk. But when they were younger, if they were obviously you're with your kids all the time, we had a pretty hard rule about our bedroom door being closed. So if our bedroom door was closed, whether or not it was locked, but of course we would lock it, but the bedroom door meant you may not open our bedroom door.
Wow.
That is our space and our time, and you knock and we can open it and allow you in or not. But if it's open, you're free to come in. But that door closed meant something. And a lot of time, I mean, we could have just been talking.
Yeah.
If we wanted to be doing
Right.
quote unquote.
Mama and Papa gonna go talk.
Yeah, but sometimes, you
Gotta have a
know,
word with your wife.
we were air quote talking. So that was our rule in our house and our kids. You could ask Max, you could ask Natasha when they're on the show.
Max did not follow those rules.
One time he didn't,
Oh, wow.
and it backfired on him
Yep.
because he walked in on us.
Wow.
And that was more shocking and traumatizing for him, not as much for us, although I was still like traumatized. But I think in that, I was so upset. Sorry, guys, I'm losing my voice a little bit. I was so upset. And I was like, Bonnie, you have to go talk to him. You tell, like, what was he thinking? We have this rule. You cannot open the door when it's closed. And our door was actually locked. And he picked the lock, which was absurd.
Good for
like,
him. Wow.
So I was like,
resourceful.
you need to go talk to him.
MacGyver.
What got into his
MacGyver.
mind that he did this? And Val left the room. And when he came back, I was like, what happened? What did he say? What did you tell him? And he was like, honey, I didn't have to say anything. Like, he knew. There was no words needed to be spoken. He will never do that again.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Natural consequences, the
That's
best
it.
teacher.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's exactly
So
right.
Veronica, just tell your kids to go take a walk. Keep that relationship
I love
spicy,
it.
because one day they're going to be out of the house and you
Yeah.
want to still have that great relationship with your husband. So
We're still waiting until they're out of the house.
some days.
But it's funny enough, you want them to be out of the house, but once they're out of the house, you want them back in.
Mm.
So
It is true.
Wow.
It is true, you know. So
True.
it's one of those things.
Well, this was such a fun episode. And guess what? Val's coming back for the next one.
I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. And we're going to be
Marriage.
talking more about marriage and conflict within marriage. So make sure that you tune in next week. And remember, we have something special for you this season called the Healthy Home Guide, and it's adapted from Josh and Christi's book, Famous at Home. The free PDF is all about understanding emotions in your home and helping kids understand their feelings. Just go to Candace.com to get it and look in our show notes. Until next time, be grateful all day, every day. If you value local, trustworthy, and high-quality food, now is the perfect time to join the Good Ranchers family. I was thrilled when my first Good Ranchers box showed up and it was all still perfectly frozen. And what I really love about Good Ranchers is their commitment to transparency. They believe you have the right to know exactly what's in your food. I mean, hello. And they are also amazing supporters of this show. Good Ranchers sources all of their meat from local U.S. farms, so you're getting the best of the best. No antibiotics, no added hormones, just pure, delicious meat you can trust. And do you ever notice when you're in the store, when you buy chicken or beef, it costs more and the portions way less every time you buy it? But imagine having top quality, 100% American beef, chicken, pork, and wild-caught seafood delivered right to your door. Just head over to GoodRanchers.com and subscribe to any box to unlock savings. Good Ranchers is where you can get 100% USA grown meat you can trust that's tender and full of flavor every single time. With meat prices continuing to go up and the quality at the store going down, Good Ranchers can save you hundreds. Your taste buds, your wallet, and local ranchers will thank you. GoodRanchers.com, American meat delivered. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you can think of someone who needs to hear an encouraging word from you today, hit the thumbs up button and then send them a text or pick up the phone and call them. CandyRock Entertainment, all rights reserved.